history doesn't have to repeat, really. Which, starts with electrical engineers knowing what sacred space is, what electric field causes a seed to grow. So, yes, next question. Thank you. That was a thumbnail sketch. Next slide, there was another question back here. Yeah. Yes.
How does the electromagnetic field affect the rose pattern? Like in the city now, we've got all this high voltage electromagnetic fields everywhere. How does that affect the rose pattern?
We're saying that the reason a rose pops open in the hand of a saint is because that being has learned to make a centripetal electric field. And the term for that in modern medicine is called harmonic inclusiveness, which is clear in your heart. Harmonic inclusiveness predicts how long you will live. It's a very simple statistic, and which is another name for fractal. So this ability to make an electric field centripetal is essential to life. Sadly, 50 and 60 cycle and the frequencies used for synthetic lighting are the opposite of that. And they're the frequency at which you can most quickly kill any living thing. 50 and 60 cycle is measurably the frequency at which the voltage required to stop the heart is lowest. So it is the most poisonous possible of frequencies. So we have surrounded ourselves with maximum poison, actually. The simplest way to explain that is this. If you plant a seed in a stone or wooden cup and watch it grow, you plant the same seed in a steel or aluminum cup, you can watch it die. Now that's why your children should not be in a metal school building, truly. And the physics of the way to measure that is very simple. You put a capacitor in the center. In the stone or wooden cup, you measure what's called harmonic inclusiveness or fractality, which means charge distribution invited. That means God lives here. That's what it means. It defines the divine. Perfect branch, perfect distribution. Distribution of charge is life. Your aura can breathe through it. In the steel or aluminum cup, you push the same capacitor and you measure the harmonics. You get only one or two. That's called harmonic exclusiveness, which any doctor can tell you defines death. So basically what it means is in your steel and aluminum buildings, your aura is trapped. And then your children lose their soul, literally, because the living plasma cannot breathe through it. Do the simple trial, just hold something steel or aluminum in your hand and feel what happens to your aura. It literally dies. You cannot feel into it. The reason you can't feel is because plasma distribution is not possible. So steel and aluminum is a mistake. It's called misqualified energy because any substance with which living bioplasma cannot be distributed cannot be inhabited. I personally believe the flood disaster in Hungary and the volcanoes in Iceland and many disasters like it are directly connected to the largest aluminum plants on planet Earth, which are the most painful thing Mother Gaia is feeling right now, practically. Do you see the connection? Because every time you push a wave out of fractal, you create the definition of pain. Pain is not a mistake God made. Pain is when your plasma is bleeding because the fractal is broken symmetrically. Restore that compression, you eliminate pain, and you create healing. Magnets in a dodecafractal eliminate pain and create healing. It's called phase conjugate magnetics. Simply restored compression. Steel and aluminum are the opposite of that. You should run, not walk, to get them out of your house, kitchen, and bedroom first. Yes. Yes.
Going back to the magnetic roads.
Yes.
I've come across some meditations from Wallow with the flower of life. Have you heard of something like that on those lines? And is that meditation, could that be a metaphor for what you're talking about, sort of magnetic roads? And the second question is, you can visualize the tetrahedron in your body and fill that with light and be stuck into a spin. Is that maybe another form of, magnetic roads or some instance in your geometry that you've been speaking about? Is that maybe what you're getting at, maybe at a personal level outside of your bed, your house, in the city?
Well, Yes, you know, I was with Drunvalo when he did his first pictures and taught with those groups for many years. There's some wonderful things there, and there are some limitations. The wonderful thing is it's true that to be able to visualize 2 tetra in your aura is a very good introduction to creating a stable electric field around your aura. So from that point of view, it's useful. Sadly, there's a piece of that puzzle that group kind of missed. That, you see, when you make a tetracube in your aura, 2 opposing tetra, the shadow of that is hex, and that's the flag of Alpha Draconis and Israel, actually. It's the shadow of 2 triangles, and which is, you could think, conjugating cones. But if you finish your meditation just focusing on 2 tetra, you make a cube, which is the 2 green structures in here, obviously. And a cube in your aura is a way of isolating charge. Very good for stabilizing, very bad for transcending. And so it's, you know, when she says I put a hex on you, she means is fixation, which is the chemistry of hex, actually. Whereas when she puts a pent, she sends the spell, which is quite opposite. So in order to finish the meditation, it is actually essential and necessary to imagine the cube tilting, and this cube in this dodeca here is tilted exactly 32 degrees from the floor, which is the chin angle of the Sphinx. And if you visualize that tetracube rotating into a pent dodeca, the hex becomes pent in that 32-degree tilt, which is how you enter the 4th dimension, hypercube, tesseract, next dimension. And that changes the cube octa symmetry to pent and goes from square root of 2 to golden ratio. And that's the first time your aura actually implodes. And that motion, that visualizing the hex changing to pent, which Drunvalo taught as the final secret that he didn't say kind of thing, is powerful and dangerous. And he was right about that. The fact is that if you don't do it and you stop your meditation with a cube, there's all kinds of messy astral hygiene problems. Because the fact is that it's only implosion that eliminates parasites. Which is to say, if you have a source of bliss, you will have no problem with astral parasites, both stomach parasites and astral parasites. Whereas if you don't have a source of bliss, you always won't have your own source of charge. So from this perspective, unless you have a way to have a bliss experience, you are electrically a parasite, because you don't have your own source of charge, actually. Which is, for example, when you have a source of bliss, you're less likely to have arthritis, because that charge is what keeps the minerals in solution. So functionally, the ability to have a way to have a bliss experience is basically life or death. It's how you get a large aura and take memory through death. And so that's what our 4th book is about, to teach kids the biologic necessity of having access to bliss. In fact, we say that the definition of culture is the ability to teach your children how to have bliss. So in this context, the bliss moment is actually when you go from hex to pent. The upside of that is if you can tilt your head back and you visualize the hex turning into pent and you embed the cube in a dodecahedron, you start to feel implosion. If at that moment your emotions are shareable, which is to say sorted. You know what they do when they shake hands at the end of a fight in an Irish pub? Sorted. It means that compression is over. We now know which waves are shareable. Well, that process is what you do when you prepare to die. You actually go through your emotions and decide which ones actually are of service to the whole gene pool. And if you have sorted your emotions, then you can do the visualization from the hex to pent, and your aura is projected through the speed of light, and you enter an electric